Get ready to celebrate another life-giving book by Spirit Media. Welcome to our live worldwide celebration as we release another book from Spirit Media. We are thankful for every book we get to release. Books published through Spirit Media are available in paperback, hardback, ebook, and audiobook, everywhere books are sold worldwide. Join us now as we talk to today's author, hear about their new book, and welcome comments from you, the audience, from around the world. Most people say they would like to write a book, but only 2% ever do. Together, let's celebrate a significant milestone in and through today's author. Please put your hands together as Kevin White, CEO of Spirit Media, welcomes today's author to the show.
Hello. Good Friday, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I'm Kevin White, and I am privileged and honored to be the CEO of Spirit Media. I love our staff and our clients, and we have an incredible author and opportunity today. So without further ado, let's welcome Mark Boone to the show. How are you, sir?
Thank you, Kevin.
Welcome. Well, I am so grateful to have the opportunity to talk to you now about the book that you and your mom co-authored, From Jesus Til Now. Let me go ahead and pull up here the, let's see, our listing on Amazon. And there you go. Everyone can see there the listing. It's From Jesus Til Now. A timeline of captivated stories that lead you inside church history. And I don't know if you are a history buff. I love and appreciate history, but I haven't always read history books and probably wasn't the best history student. But I have loved this book, and we're going to dive into it. As you can see there, it's available in ebook, paperback, hardback, audiobook, everywhere books are sold. We're going to come back to this and show you an inside look of the book. Both Mark and I have given away our copies. I've brought several people into the studio recently, and they've all loved this book. And I said, well, then just take it. And they've committed to reading it. And as you can see, it's getting 5-star reviews on Amazon. And we're just so proud of Mark and his mom and the accomplishment there. And so I want to invite you to join Spirit Media and our team of staff, investors, all of our clients, and just congratulating Mark in having this book published. As you saw in the opening video, this is no small milestone. This is a tremendous opportunity. I have learned from my own life. I'm not a doctor, and I've never earned a doctorate. But there's something up in the levels of hierarchy about publishing a book. And I just appreciate God's favor through publishing. And I just want to honor Mark for doing this. But this is a very unique story. So Mark, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
In just a few minutes, we're going to be offering everyone an opportunity to ask questions. You can go ahead and leave them in the chat. But Mark, tell us the unique connection between you and your mom and how this book actually began and what inspired your mom to write this book.
Okay. My mom was a writer, and she had written tons of articles for all kinds of Christian magazines, and had published material for my Sunday school lessons, as well as things. And she found that a lot of people were very interested in the historical people that have developed ideas in the church, but that they just didn't know really who they were. So looking at, people know the name Augustine, but most people haven't read Augustine. Well, my mother read Augustine. She read every author in its original text. And so she decided that it would be helpful to be able to take all those authors and describe in a chronological way how it is that they came to provide ideas to us today. And so she had spent nearly 20 years researching the material, all original authors. When her bookshelves, no, I guess they're probably 8 feet tall, and she had 6 of them that are probably 5 feet wide, all filled with original manuscripts. It was kind of like going into a bookshop. I went into her office. Unfortunately, just about the time she was getting near the finishing of the book, she had a stroke.
Mhm.
And the stroke was a brain bleed. And when it happened, she kind of immediately went blind. She couldn't see anything. But it was probably about 2 in the morning. My parents were living next door to us. We had built an addition onto the house for them. And so my dad came over and he asked for some help. I walked immediately, went over. And my mom was laying there on the bed, not able to see, but she motioned for a pen.
Mhm.
And so I handed her a pen and a piece of paper. I don't think she could talk, but she wrote on the piece of paper, "Finish my book."
Mhm.
And so that was the last communication that I had from her.
Mhm.
Um, and but it, I thought, gosh, if your mom says to do something and it's the last word that she has to say, it must be important.
Mhm.
So it took me a number of years of kind of going through all her manuscripts and everything else, and kind of fleshing it out, sort of smoothing the way in terms of what additional material that I think she meant to have, kind of looking through some of the books that she had taken source material from. And then the in the intervening years, the internet had become a big deal. So we wanted to add some sections to the book that talked about, for further research, these are topics that you can look on the internet for. And so it took a lot of kind of additional, I guess, editing, if you will, that we did. And then in talking with Kevin, you said that well, we should just publish it. And I thought, we should. So so that was the genesis of the book, and kind of how it came into being.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, I am blessed to have heard that before and to hear it again. And I
Mhm.
can only imagine what everyone in the audience are thinking right now. And I just, having gone, not everybody's gone to theological training college, but having gone through that, and you in college, as you prepare for full-time ministry, or whatever reason that you're being exposed to this, you're exposed to Augustine and Bonhoeffer and all of the significant members of faith, and to have your mom really digest that on behalf of the global church, and then to put it in such cliff note form, because this book, even though it's a big size book, I can only imagine what it represents as a small fraction of what you just described as her total library. And so she's really brought it down to a digestible bite size. Doesn't mean you're going to be able to read it in 5 minutes, but in one book, of front cover to back cover, she has really taken in chronological order, as Mark described, the church history. And the book is titled From Jesus Till Now. So Julie picked up in the life of Jesus, the biblical narrative through the crucifixion, the resurrection, and into the book of Acts,
Yeah.
where the church is launched. And she continues into the 300 years later, 400 years later, all the way through today to the modern church. And she really does a masterful job of showing the fingerprint of God in the midst of imperfect man,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
all of these heroes of our faith were human, just like us, and at any time, this movement of God, this gospel, this movement of good news could have been broken because of the humanity portion of it. But you see that God is faithful all the way through it. And there was twists and turns, like between the Methodists and the Baptists. A lot of people don't even understand that Baptists are called Baptists because of the way that they immersed.
Mhm. Right.
Methodists were called Methodists because they chose a different method of baptism, and they sprinkled instead of immersing. And when you learn that, it just really helps you appreciate your own Christian baptism, no matter what form you choose. And to just see that you're a part of a much bigger family. And that's really one of the takeaways whenever I read this book. Is I just was so full of thanksgiving to God for
No,
what it,
I think that there's a lot of Thanksgiving. The other thing that she does is she doesn't sugarcoat the history either.
right.
There are a
Shows
number of
the
instances within church history that one would describe as pretty dark. And so she's elucidated those. She has tied each of the developments. There are 24 chapters in the book. And so roughly it's more or less 100 years per chapter. And what happened during those 100 years is, I mean, for a few parts, the camera kind of zooms in, like during the Reformation, a lot went on. And so, we take it in a little bit smaller increment there. But to a large extent, she helps to explain everything from how monasteries came into being, who invented the nativity scene. She even talks about how the YMCA was created. So each thing in history, and relating those events in the church to events that are going on in the world, I think is another important piece of the book. For example, when the Magna Carta was developed, what else was going on in church history to relate to that? Dark things like the Crusades. I mean, if I could quote a little bit from chapter 11 in her book, she would say, "Tragic is too small a word for the Crusades. They created hate and destruction. The Crusades' goal was to rescue the Holy Land from the infidels, yet they slaughtered Christians as well as Muslims and devastated the lands of both. Instead of helping to protect Constantinople, they almost destroyed the city. In Jerusalem, they made the streets run with blood." So, I don't take that as an endorsement for some of the things that happened within the church.
Right.
But it's important to recognize so that we don't make those same kind of mistakes again. And similarly with the Inquisition, how did people come up with this stuff? How were Christians killing other Christians? We don't want to do that again. And so it's really important to I think understand the motivations, in retrospect, what allowed within the church these things to happen. And so that we can look to the good, we can be inspired in the same way that many of the people that she describes in the book were inspired. And oftentimes it's a Bible verse that allowed them to come up with some ideas. And we have the same opportunity to read the Bible on and see exactly where or be similarly inspired. One of the things that I like that kind of took me a good bit of time to develop is at the end of each of the 24 chapters, there are 4 sections of topics that so the book could be used in a a number of ways, ranging from as a textbook, a book for discussion in a small group. Um, it could be used just for, as you talked about, for personal enjoyment. But the four sections at the end of each chapter, there's a section called for thought and discussion. So if you have a small group, it gives you topics to talk about. There's a Bible study section that kind of relates what it is that was talked about during the historical period to those verses within the Bible that helped either inspire or we are pretty related to the material. And then there's a your response section. So if for individual study, you want to think about, well, how is it that this could apply to me? What is it that I could be doing? And then there's a section that I think is very relevant if you're using the book as to teach from. You'll probably want to go into more depth than is described in the book. And so what we do is we give internet keywords that you can individually research at the end of each chapter that talk about the people, the actions, the things that came about during that period. And so I think that's those four things at the end of each chapter can be very helpful in each of the ways that we describe.
Yeah. As you can see there on your screen, our team is showing the actual inside of the book as Mark is describing these to you, so that you can see it. So if you look here at chapter 1, you can see the beginning of the genius of the church. The first sermon, the first baptisms, the first meetings, the first expansion, the first troubles from the officials. And so it's but you see, it's a paragraph. It's not an 18-book series that would really exhaust you, but the whole significance of the 3 Jewish festivals. So it really does take you into the Bible in this first chapter. But I want to show you the elements that Mark was describing there. So here at the end, there's some thought-provoking questions for your response to this, and then some further study. And I love how the book shows the timeline all the way through. And so right now you can see that we're right around 250 AD after the death of Christ, and she's covered through that. And then when you go into chapter 2, you see the rumors, the relics, and the defenses, and it's just really masterful. I can't recommend this enough to you. I really believe in the years to come, you're going to see colleges and seminaries taking this book, making sure that it's in their library, scholars taking this. But I want to be careful, even while I was studying it and reading it, this is a practical book for the everyday Joe that would identify themselves as a Christian, but it could even be of value to people that would be identified as Jewish. It really has value. I love, like, when you just think about the Christian community, there's a lot of different sections of it. We have a Pentecostal section. We have the high church Orthodox section. We have the Protestant section, the Catholic section. And no matter where you put yourself, you're going to be very comfortable reading this book. And you're also going to be comfortable if you were not to align yourself as a Christ follower at the time, and you're just seeking and you want to know truth. This really does show you historical facts that have been documented. It's not Julie's opinion about this and Julie's opinion about that. It really is like Julie doesn't really put a persuasion in. It's like she really has nothing to elevate any of these sections of the body of Christ or the history of the
I mean, an example of what you're just talking about, Kevin, is in chapter 8. I think it's entitled "The Rise of Islam." And there, I think it's really critical to understand our world today, to understand this intersection between Christianity and the Islamic faith.
Hmm.
Where did it come from? How did it arise?
Hmm.
Um, what are the tenets? What is it that you know? How did Christian beliefs and Islamic beliefs, how are they are similar and how are they different?
Yeah.
Um, just to be able to grasp that is so critical to being able to understand, many of the wars, many of the things that are going on in the Middle East today. So I think
Hmm.
having that perspective gives us the ability to better understand what it is that we can do as people uh,
Hmm.
about interacting with each other in a peaceful and sane manner.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Mhm.
Mark, so everyone, we are actually less than 10 minutes away from the end of our live broadcast here. I'd love to invite anyone to leave questions for Mark that he could address in the last couple of minutes here. So if you have any questions, please share. I love all the positive comments. People around the world are congratulating Mark on the book. But
Mhm.
if you do have any questions about the book, but Mark, what would be your takeaway? What so you are fulfilling your mom's final assignment to you, but you could, like she said, finish the book. Why did you take it all the way to publishing it, and what would you hope for as people are reading the book?
Well, I think my desire is for people to be able to see themselves in relationship to what God's instructions are for us today. That in much the same way as the people that are described in the book, they're no different than you or I.
Hmm.
They took ideas that were inspired to a large extent through reading of scripture. They took those ideas and they took off with them, and they, in many cases, provided ideas. Like, I mean, I have a nativity scene in my yard. Somebody came up with that idea.
Hmm.
Um, uh, um, I drink some Christian Brothers wine. Uh, that came from a monastery. And so
Mm.
the idea of where monasteries came from and the rules associated with monasteries, I mean, those are all things that people came up with. I guess I would say that my hope is for those that read the book, um, they would um, they would be inspired to think about what it is that God has asked them to do.
Mm. Yeah. So as you know, Carlene, the editor that worked on your mom's book, is worked in partnership with you and did a masterful job in finishing out and polishing the manuscript in the publishing process. She's wondering, what do you know about the research and writing process? You went over that a little earlier, but anything?
Yeah, she spent 8 hours a day
Hmm.
reading, researching, making notes.
Hmm.
Um, my dad had a hearing aid business for nearly 40 years, and my mom was the receptionist of the hearing aid business. Well, there were a lot of times that either he was out of the office or they were, seeing customers and the like as that. So it was the perfect kind of job for her to do the work that she wanted to do as a writer. So early days, she just sat behind her typewriter and wrote. And then when she got a computer, she used that to make her notes.
Hmm.
Um, and so that was the technique she used. She would read during the day, read at night, and then digest what it is that the writings that she really the source literature. She always went to the first source. She didn't write about what people said about somebody else. She quotes throughout the book um, the source literature, which I think is really the key to understanding. It's not what somebody says about Augustine; it's what Augustine says.
Mhm.
It's it's the songs that Francis of Assisi wrote. Um, he might. She makes the comment. He might be surprised that people put statues of him in their gardens, but
Mhm.
trying to by reading his material, you can see why that happens.
Mhm.
So I'd say that was her modus.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's, in the final minutes here, just make sure everyone is aware. The book is available everywhere books are sold. Um, Obviously, Amazon is the #1 bookseller in the world. And so this is true of any Amazon marketplace worldwide. You can find the book in paperback, hardback, ebook, and audiobook. Um, I, and you can also go to Barnes and Noble. They have access to order it. It may be already in stock. If not, they can order it for you there. Every library can order this. And as you know, most libraries carry what their community asks them to carry. And so next time you're in your library, or if you have influence over your local library, don't hesitate to point out this book and encourage them to put it in their circulation as well. But it makes a great gift for your loved ones, and you can recommend it. October's Pastor Appreciation Month, and if your pastor does not have this book, it would be a great, just small token of appreciation for you to give every pastor that has been an investment into your life a copy of this book. But it's not. I don't want to say that in making us think that it's only for leaders and for pastors. Again, um, you should be encouraged to read this book. Uh,
Mhm.
one
Sure.
of one of my college professors gave me a light bulb moment whenever he just plainly said, "History is his story. It
Mhm.
is God's story,
It
and
is.
you and I have been brought into this grand story, and for us to fully appreciate um, August the 11th, 2023, we should look back and see the faithfulness of God. We live in very uncertain times. And as you know, fear and anxiety and worry and mental health is really plaguing our culture. And it's these anchors in our faith that can make the difference between us having a sense of confidence about tomorrow or panic attack about tomorrow.
Mhm.
Just encourage you for your own mental health. Um, get this book, read this book, see the faithfulness of God. Mark, any final words before we say goodbye to everyone?
Oh, just I think that there are a number of practical things in the book. Everything from the story about how the calendar came to be,
Mhm.
um, how Julius Caesar wanted his month to be as long as excuse me, Augustus Caesar wanted his month to be as long as his predecessor Julius, and how that screwed the calendar up. He took a day from February and put it on his month. Um, and then how in 1580 it was discovered that the way in which the calendar was set up was actually 11 minutes and 14 seconds too long. And
Mm,
so in 1580, we had to, August 5th became October 5th became October 15th. Um,
mm,
so the book talks about those kind of things too that are just
mhm.
interesting, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All of us love trivia, and
Mhm.
it's definitely sprinkled all the way through it.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Well, Mark, thank you so much. I hope this will also inspire anyone who's sitting on a manuscript. So when I was reconnecting with Mark one day, just happened to mention to him about having been writing books and now helping people publish books. And Mark just said, I've got a manuscript. I wonder if I should publish it. And we took a look at it. And now you have the reality of what God actually used Mark to do. And I would just encourage everyone, follow in Mark's footsteps, whether it's your mother's book or your own book, get God's story told. Mark, I honor you. I honor your mom, the legacy that she has left. And I thank you so much for this book. And I can't wait to see it bear fruit around the world.
We're excited to see what happens.
Thanks for joining us today, Mark. And thank you, everyone, for your kindness to Mark today. And we'll see you again at our next book celebration here at Spirit Media.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining today's live broadcast by Spirit Media, a full-service publishing, marketing, and branding company in the USA. Spirit Media's multinational team has published authors from throughout the USA, across India, Australia, Ukraine, Canada, and beyond, including books in over 20 languages. Need help writing your book? No problem. Spirit Media's angel writers can help you write your book in your own words in less than 90 days. Contact Spirit Media today and let us help you write, edit, publish, and market your book to the nations. Schedule your free consultation call today and learn more about Spirit Media's long-term and systematic marketing plan, guaranteed to provide measurable results. Contact Spirit Media today. This has been an international live broadcast with Spirit Media. This program copyright Spirit Media, all rights reserved.